Resilience is a word that carries a special power. At its core, it refers to the human capacity to overcome adversity, adapt to change, and grow even in the face of great challenges. Whether dealing with personal struggles, loss, or moments of uncertainty, resilience allows us to find the strength to move forward. But it is not merely an innate trait, it is something that can be nurtured and strengthened. In the context of everyday life, resilience is indispensable. We all face ups and downs, and it's our attitude toward these situations that defines how we weather the storms. However, cultivating resilience requires more than willpower. It calls for a deeper understanding of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This is where Buddhist philosophy offers a transformative perspective. At the heart of Buddhist teachings, we find principles like impermanence, non-attachment, mental training, and compassion. Each of these concepts serves as a powerful tool to help us face challenges with greater serenity and wisdom. Throughout this video, we will explore how these pillars of Buddhist philosophy not only explain the nature of resilience, but also provide practical methods to incorporate it into our lives. More than just a theoretical approach, this journey is an invitation to transformation, to the development of inner strength that enables us to navigate life with balance, courage, and meaning. Impermanence, or anicca in Buddhism, is one of the most fundamental concepts of this philosophy. It reminds us that everything in the universe is in constant flux. Nothing is permanent, not joy, nor sorrow, not even life as we know it. While this may seem like a discomforting idea, understanding and accepting impermanence is, in fact, one of the greatest sources of resilience we can cultivate. From the simplest moments to the most significant ones, everything is subject to transformation. Relationships evolve, situations that once seemed stable fall apart, and even our emotions, no matter how intense they may feel at the moment, eventually dissipate or change form. In Buddhism, recognizing this transience is essential to reducing suffering. When we resist the idea that everything is fleeting, we cling to what is impermanent and inevitably become frustrated when it changes or disappears. Accepting impermanence does not mean resigning ourselves or losing the motivation to live. On the contrary, it is an invitation to appreciate the present moment and find lightness in life's inevitable changes. It's a lesson that, no matter how challenging a situation may be, it is not definitive. When we incorporate impermanence into our worldview, we develop a more resilient mindset. We come to understand that difficulties are temporary, just as victories and joys are. This perspective helps us handle tough situations with greater calm and clarity, knowing that nothing is fixed or eternal. The practice of reflecting on impermanence can be integrated into small moments of daily life. For example, by observing our breath, we notice how each inhalation and exhalation is unique and fleeting. This reminds us that life follows a similar pattern of constant movement. By cherishing something or someone in our lives today, we can recognize that it won't last forever, and for that very reason, it deserves to be appreciated while it is here. Buddhist stories also illustrate the transformative power of this view. A famous example is the story of the broken cup. A monk looks at his favorite cup and, even before it breaks, considers it already broken. This mental exercise isn't about pessimism, but about accepting that the nature of things is to change, and that attachment to them is the root of suffering. Impermanence, far from being an adversary, is our ally on the path to resilience. By understanding that everything is transitory, we learn to face challenges with more serenity and to value the good things while they last. In this way, impermanence teaches us to live more fully, balanced, and resiliently. At the heart of Buddhist philosophy, detachment is seen as an essential practice for reducing suffering. Clinging to things, people, or situations, according to Buddhism, is the root of much of our emotional pain. When we attach ourselves to something, we develop an expectation of permanence or control, which inevitably leads to frustration in the face of changes we cannot avoid. Detachment, however, does not mean abandoning everything or living in a cold and indifferent way. It is, instead, a mental state that allows us to experience life fully, but without becoming emotionally dependent on outcomes, possessions, or relationships to feel at peace. Practicing detachment involves recognizing that the excessive desire for control creates barriers to accepting reality as it is. When we cling to something, we create resistance to change, which intensifies our suffering when things don't go as expected. A common example is the fear of losing a professional position or rejection in a relationship. In these moments, detachment invites us to look beyond the immediate pain and see the possibilities that arise when we let go of rigid expectations. It gives us the courage to move forward without being paralyzed by the fear of the unknown. The relationship between detachment and resilience runs deep. When we detach, we don't become insensitive to losses, but more capable of dealing with them. This enables us to start over and create something new out of circumstances that, at first glance, might seem irreparable. Detachment also reduces the impact of anxiety, as it teaches us to live in the present without being trapped by future worries or past regrets. It is a form of liberation that provides the emotional and mental flexibility essential for navigating life's ups and downs. The practice of detachment allows us to embrace change as an opportunity for growth, rather than fearing it as a threat. This state of emotional freedom is what makes us truly resilient, capable of facing life's challenges with greater lightness and confidence, certain that we can always move forward. The mind, when untrained, can be like a storm at sea, constantly agitated by thoughts, emotions, and reactions. This turbulent state makes us more susceptible to stress and suffering when faced with adversity. Conversely, when we cultivate the practice of training the mind, we find clarity, balance, and inner strength to face challenges. In Buddhism, meditation and mindfulness are the main tools for achieving this transformation. Meditation is much more than sitting in silence. It is an exercise in presence that teaches us to observe our thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. When we practice meditation, we become more aware of the patterns that dominate our minds and, in turn, develop the ability to choose how to respond to situations rather than reacting impulsively. This capacity to observe without judgment is fundamental to resilience because it allows us to face crises with greater calm and perspective. Mindfulness complements meditation by inviting us to bring this awareness to every moment of our day. Being fully present means not losing ourselves in worries about the future or regrets about the past. It is a state of focus that helps us address challenges as they arise, without being overwhelmed by negative emotions or automatic thoughts. There are specific practices that help integrate meditation and mindfulness into daily life. Breath-focused meditation, for example, is an effective way to stabilize the mind. By observing the natural flow of our breath, we notice how thoughts come and go, like clouds passing in the sky, and understand that we don't need to cling to them. This realization brings a sense of freedom and strengthens us to handle moments of tension. Another practice is mindfulness during daily activities, such as eating, walking, or even washing dishes. By focusing completely on these simple actions, we anchor our minds in the present and reduce the influence of thoughts that feed anxiety or fear. Training the mind is a gradual process, but over time, the practice transforms us profoundly. We develop a greater ability to distance ourselves from destructive thoughts, maintain calm in difficult situations, and view challenges from a broader perspective. Ultimately, meditation and mindfulness teach us that even amidst the storms, we can find an inner center of peace that helps us navigate any difficulty with resilience and courage. Compassion, in the Buddhist context, is more than a feeling, it is a transformative force that arises from recognizing the deep connection between all beings. It teaches us to look at difficulties, our own and others, with kindness and understanding. In practice, compassion is a powerful source of resilience because it helps us face challenges with an open heart and a broader perspective on human suffering. Being compassionate begins with self-compassion. Often, in the face of failure or a difficult situation, we are our harshest critics. We tend to blame ourselves or treat ourselves harshly, which only amplifies the pain. Self-compassion, on the other hand, is the practice of embracing ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a dear friend in a moment of difficulty. This does not mean excusing mistakes or ignoring responsibilities, but rather approaching our shortcomings and challenges with understanding and patience. When we are kind to ourselves, we create internal space for healing and learning, which makes us stronger to move forward. Compassion also connects us to others. By recognizing that everyone faces struggles and suffering, we realize we are not alone in our difficulties. This sense of interconnectedness not only reduces the feeling of isolation that often accompanies tough times, but also gives us courage and motivation to face challenges with a greater purpose. Acts of kindness, no matter how small, can remind us of this connection and bring a sense of meaning even in the most challenging situations. Practicing compassion does not require grand gestures. A simple act of listening attentively, offering words of encouragement, or even smiling can have a profound impact, both for the person receiving and the one giving. When we allow ourselves to be compassionate, we discover that kindness strengthens not only others, but also ourselves. This creates a kind of virtuous cycle, where mutual support energizes us and builds resilience to face our own adversities. Cultivating compassion, for both ourselves and others, transforms our perspective on life's challenges. Instead of seeing them as tests of our individual strength, we begin to view them as opportunities for shared growth. This teaches us that true strength doesn't come from avoiding pain but from facing it with an open heart, supported by compassion and the understanding that we are all part of a shared human experience. Resilience, as explored through Buddhist philosophy, is not merely the ability to overcome challenges, but a pathway to living more fully and consciously. The pillars presented, impermanence, detachment, training the mind, and compassion, show us that facing life's adversities is not just a matter of strength but of wisdom. They teach us how to navigate inevitable changes, let go of what we cannot control, cultivate a clear and serene mind, and treat ourselves and others with kindness. By embracing impermanence, we recognize that nothing is final, neither pain nor joy, which helps us face life's ups and downs with greater serenity. Detachment invites us to live fully without becoming dependent on what is fleeting, creating space to grow even in the face of loss. Training the mind through meditation and mindfulness gives us the capacity to face challenges with presence and balance, while compassion reminds us that we are not alone and that kindness can be a powerful ally in difficult moments. These teachings are not mere theoretical ideas, they are practices we can apply in our daily lives. Every moment of adversity is an opportunity to put Buddhist resilience into practice, aiming not just to endure difficulties, but to grow through them. By cultivating these principles, we become not only more resilient but also more connected, aware, and at peace with life in its entirety. May we carry these lessons forward, finding strength in change, freedom in detachment, clarity in presence, and support in compassion. In this way, resilience ceases to be an isolated response to crises and becomes a way of life, enabling us to navigate any challenge with balance and meaning.